Hey there folks, I'm working on something that I just got and it's also going to be brand new to the channel. Suzuki four-wheelers, as you can see. This one is a 1986 230 dual range. Let's take a little bit closer look at it. It's pretty rough around the edges, which is why I got it for pretty cheap. You can see all the plastics are kind of sun faded. There's a little cracking going on. It is missing the front and rear rack. It does also come with this nice little pile of parts. One thing that I was a little concerned about is you can see this rear grab bar is quite bent up. That would normally go back here. So this four-wheeler's obviously taken a hit at some point. I did get it from a buddy of mine, and he got this in a package with another one. That was a 230 shaft, and he basically took and made one really good one out of both of them. So this is what's left over. But I really wanted this one because it's a dual range. It's got the 2-speed rear end on it, just like the old international semis of the 60s and 70s. So I thought that was pretty cool, and it'll be useful on the farm. So let's try and get this thing going with, the little parts that we got here. Well, we'll just take the seat off, and I knew that these plastics were a little floppy. He took those off. So that just comes off, and we can get a way better view of what we're working with here. Another cool thing about these is that they have like a factory snorkel, so the air intake is actually up here, and it comes down, goes through the box and into the engine. We are missing a battery, and our wiring looks like it's seen better days. So I think first order business is get a way to roll it over and check spark. Now the recoil that I got is missing some bits and pieces. I've got the pawl and the actual wind up part, but there's no spring. There's no little cam to actually make this fly out. And I don't have the pull handle for it as well. So we really got to hope that the electric start works. Well, since I don't know anything about that four-wheeler, I don't want to put any money into it yet. We're just going to borrow the battery out of my very nice 250. Thing just runs like a champ, but we'll slap this in the other one and see if we got fire. Now that we got our Super Start Power Sport AGM battery acquired, we can just drop her in here like so. Which this battery box has seen better days as well. Kind of wiggly. But this one looks like the negative, so we'll put this one on first. That was backwards, but don't do this at home. And we're just looking to see if we got lights or sounds or anything going on here. Primarily, I'm looking for my neutral light to come on. Let's turn the key, and I'll just give her a tippity tap. And I got nothing. So that's quite unfortunate. Oh, I got a headlight though. Maybe we're not in neutral. Oh. My headlight came on, if you can see my hand up here. So we know we're getting juice somewhere. Let's see if she cranks. Ooh, that got pretty warm. So that's good. Next thing we need to do is fix this little connector here because, yeah, that's just not ideal. Well, I know a crimp connection isn't the best thing in the world, but it'll do for us now. Let's move on to testing spark. Alright, we'll just pop this off here. Put her in like so. And you guys watch for me and see if that lights up. I think that'll do. Next thing I want to do is get our recoil situation figured out. And since we're missing giblets and stuff for the recoil, I think we're just going to end up slapping it on here. And, you know, we got the electric start. Then at least we don't have the foot mangler 6,000 when it's running. Now with that taken care of, one thing I just noticed sitting on top of the machine, she's only got 1,160 miles. And man, is that a rough 1,000 miles. But next thing I want to do is I think we'll get this snorkel off so we can get better access to our carburetor area. All right, let's see how this comes out of here. Boy, that is way bigger than it needs to be. Dookie. Come on now. I like that it's like just inner tube material around there, but look, we got some mouse nest situation going on, so that's less than ideal. Luckily, I did get a genuine McCuney carburetor with this four-wheeler. However, I do not believe that this is the one for this four-wheeler because, one, this carb flange is angled real bad, and if we put that on, you know, this four-wheeler, it'd be sitting like this. So I like 98% sure it's the right diameter of like a 24 mil or something. But I got a whole new carb kit with brand new jets, needles, even the little adjuster screw that we need. So this thing should be brand new when we're all done cleaning it up. We're just going to crack this carb open and see how bad it is. Not quite sure what to expect because we didn't have any fluid in it when I got it. So it could be just really gummed up or completely spotless in there. The outside looks, you know, pretty grungy. Yeah, kind of scuzzy. I guess we're going to have to soak this one. This is also just kind of confirming my suspicions that this carburetor was never on that four-wheeler. For a 230, we're supposed to have a 17.5 main and a 115 main jet. And I can see there it says 22.5 pilot, and this one's only a 100 main. So, you know, it's the same size carburetor. It'll work. I got the jets for it. We'll just have to go through and put our new correct size jets in it. Alrighty, we've been soaking in here for like an hour and a half. Nice. We still got a little bit of dirt in here, but we'll blow out all of our passages. And yeah, this cleaned up really nice. I'm pretty happy with that. And now for the fun part, we get to reassemble with my whole brand new carb kit. This is like a new old stock kind of thing. Shindy's the actual supplier for Suzuki, but yeah, here we go. I think we are ready to go over to the four-wheeler and see if we can get this thing going. I also have to get a new choke for it, and we'll figure out that situation too because our entire choke assembly is missing. So here we are, carb is installed, and as you can see, I don't have any fuel lines to it yet. We're definitely not going to suck through the airbox. We'll clean that out later. But for choke, I did have a spare throttle cable, so what I think we're going to do is tie a knot in the end of this, and that should go into our, you know, new choke plunger here that I managed to scavenge up. And we'll put this kit in there, and then normally it would Normally the choke would go like on the top of the throttle on these, as it sits here, but we don't actually have the right top half of this. So for now, it's just going to be a little dangler thing here. I might do something to seal this up, or maybe not. I don't know. But it'll do for now. So instead of tying a knot, I actually just ended up brazing a new little ball on the end of it, so that way it would have something to catch onto. But putting these choke plungers together is pretty simple. You want to make sure you start off with your weather boot. That'll just get slid all the way up here. And then next is your part that screws into the carburetor. And then that one's going to lock in here, and you're going to push your boot on. Then you've got a spring, which is important, so that way it keeps your choke down. And then the reason we need a little ball, so that way it can fit in this eye hole. It'll just slide in there like that. It's not perfect, but it's better than the nothing that we had. There we go. And then pull our cable up. Now we're ready to insert it into our carb. This ain't the easiest thing to do in the world. There we go. Then pull on our cable. Yep. And it returns all the way back down. Awesome. So now with that, we can hook up our fuel line over here. And we should be ready to crank on it. I did make sure there was some oil in it. There's a little sight glass down here. And I guess we're just going to hope that the gas in here is okay. And we'll check to make sure our gas is on. There we go. And see if we get some fuel pumping up here. I'm not seeing any fuel pumping, so we might have to figure that out. Apparently there was a little bit less gas than what I thought there was. Alrighty, take two now that we have fuel. Whoa, alrighty. A little bit more idle. So it seems like it's not running off of the idle circuit at all. As soon as I let the choke off, it just dies. Choke. Yeah. I think what I need is to clean out this airbox, because these carbs are really tuned with this airbox and having this vacuum in front of the carb. Without that, I don't think our pilot system really works right. So we got to get this out of here, which is going to be easier said than done, because I don't know, it looks like they almost built the frame around this box. Obviously they didn't, but she is just jam-packed right in there. And we got a bolt on top that I took out, a bolt on the side that I had to like partially dismount the gas tank. And yeah, there was one more bolt down there that I took out. And yeah, try not to break that thing. After about half an hour of wiggling here, trying to get this thing out of the top, it's come to my realization that the only way to get this out is taking the muffler off, which means taking the header bolts off, which are incredibly rusted. And I don't want to screw with that, so this thing's just getting blown out. That is a nasty smell. Mice. So it's also a good thing I've got a brand new uni filter we can just toss in this thing right now. Even came with a OEM sticker that can go like right here. Airbox is all back together. Test fire dose. Still wants to die when I let the choke off. Let's see if we can get some throttle response on it. Oh, that's better. And this is pretty interesting. Now that it's warmed up, I can actually get it to run at half throttle, but not very well. And it still just dies out. So the spitting and sputtering, tells me something's really wrong in the carburetor. And there's one thing we didn't look at yet, so I want to take it off and we'll go check it out. And that was the float height on the carburetor. Now it could be different because, this carb was off of a different four-wheeler. And so in my book for this model four-wheeler, it says our float height should be 0.96 inches. So from this base gasket area, I've already got the gasket off. That's super important. So I've got my dial caliper set to 0.96, and I'm just going to take it and from the very base, and if you can see that it is actually a little higher than that. So I'm just going to take and bend this little tab up until So I'm just going to take and bend this little tab up in the center here with the screwdriver ever so slightly until we get to, our 0.96. You don't want to bend on these arms because both of these floats need to be parallel. And then I'll just do this until I get the right measurement. And that's about good. You can see my float doesn't really move, but it still touches the bottom. Test fire number 2, float has been adjusted. Ooh. Maybe give it a little bit more idle. Might be a little high on that. Well, it might be a little bit rough, but she's going all on her own now. Probably set that idle down just a little bit. I got the plastics put back on, seat is on. I even got my racks from my friend, so I put that back on there, and we only had the back part, so we'll just live with that. Maybe we can get a rack later on. And I stole a front wheel from my other four-wheeler. Let's give this thing a test ride. Ooh. It's still cold-blooded here. Ooh. This thing is torquey. Try out low range here. Oh. All the torque. I bet we can do a wheelie here. There we go. That's fifth gear low range. Well, folks, it runs not the best in the world, but it goes. And I think that's good enough for me right now. We're going to put it into service on the farm and maybe tune on it a little bit more later. But thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.